Good morning, sports fans. Welcome to the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM, streaming live on the web at WLCNonline.com. You can contact us through Twitter. We got the tweeter going there, Lloyd. We are on Facebook.
Loin.
Cheap Seats. Cheap Seats on Facebook and WLCN Sports on the old Twitter. So if you have either of those accounts, follow us throughout the season. We are at Jake's Furnishings this morning. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning.
Furniture-wise, what's the hot sell right now?
Right now, it's what we're sitting in.
Hey,
this thing
on a rainy day, what do you
Apparently
sell the most
not.
of? A rainy, snowy day, what do you sell the most of?
Well, let's see. Last week we sold about 6 recliners, I think, on the rainy day. So that was a big sell.
Rainy day recliners.
Mattresses are always good. It's nice to.
You should have things where
get comfy in your mattress.
if it snows that day, 90% off
90% off
on a snow day.
On a snow day.
90% off one item today.
Cash and carry.
One item.
One item.
And that one item would be?
I'm not going to tell.
You have to pick it, and you'll let him know if that's the item.
Well, I'm Scott Kirby, Jake Johnston, Joe Ryan. We got Joel Vinson with us this morning. Good morning, Joel.
Hello.
Joel will be in with us throughout the year. We're going to talk some basketball. We're going to talk some Illini basketball, some Raider basketball, some Raider football. But to start it off, baseball is over, obviously.
It is over.
The awards been kind of trickling throughout the week.
Yep.
Cubs cleaning house, fellas.
Yeah.
We got the manager of the year, the rookie of the year, the Cy Young.
That manager.
They get first or second.
I mean, that's such a
What?
crock.
We got
The
fourth.
Cubs. Oh, four.
I mean, they had a great year. I'm not saying that. I completely
Absolutely.
agree. I think they did a little bit better than what some people predicted. I think they were right where some people predicted too.
Now, I knew
It kind of made me want to be a
however-
Cub fan.
However,
you can be.
I like winners.
when you're talking manager of the year, and you've got a team that won 100 games, and he doesn't get it, are you kidding me?
'Cause
Why
would he?
Not only did they win 100 games.
But how much managing is he doing?
Well, I don't know.
Whoa.
Hey, how-
What are you
it's-
questioning?
real
It's
quick.
manager.
Wait,
It's
all of a sudden we're
manager of the
questioning
year.
it.
Okay, you're talking
How much managing is
did
he
do?
doing?
He lost his ace for 3/4 of the
Okay.
year. He lost his starting first baseman for 3/4 of the year. He lost his
Now,
starting
you
left
really
fielder for half.
consider Adams a first
Yes.
baseman?
He's their starting
That's probably
first
the
baseman.
best thing that happened to him.
They lost
Losing him.
their starting left fielder and their top offensive player, what most people would consider, for over half the year. They lost their first guy out of the bullpen for the entire season. They lost their starting center fielder for basically the entire year.
Yeah, so how much managing
would
do
there have
you
to
want
go
a guy to
into that?
do?
None.
And still win 100 games. You know how many
got-
teams have
holy
won 100 games in
cow.
the last 10 years?
Yeah.
I voted for Matt Williams. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, Matt Williams did a great job.
Yeah, you know what?
He's unemployed.
He's unemployed.
There's other people unemployed as well these
That's
days.
exactly
Johnny
right.
Baseball's not,
No.
though. Don Manley signs on with the Marlins.
Even Dusty Baker found a job.
Yeah, that's kind of shocks me. Dusty Baker, he's kind of the old school baseball coach. Now he.
I'm shocked that it took
yeah.
him this long to get a job.
I'm sure he'll have complete control over Bryce Harper.
Yeah, that's a train.
That's a good
wreck
move
right
right there.
That's
Yeah.
the last year.
He's
going
gonna
to
have to do some managing.
That's right.
Yeah, that
Yeah, but
comment there.
if he wins 100 games,
Give it to him.
Should win 100 games with that roster.
You
they should have won 100
Yeah.
games last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, the Nationals a couple years ago had a chance to really go deep in the playoffs, and they chose to set their big dog. Well, they haven't been back since. So, you know, if you're ever in that position, you got all your cards are in. You got to go for it because you don't know what the next year is going to entail.
Absolutely.
Speaking of intel, you're talking Hayward. He's wanting
200
million over 10.
Yeah.
He's 26 years old. So, what?
Yeesh.
Hey, Loin, remember that. Speaking of Intel,
And,
I thought you were talking about the company Intel, or we had like an
You're
undercover spy here
There you go.
in the studio.
You
Well,
guys
you're
just
here.
listen for screw ups. Do you even listen to the
It was
context
just
of
funny. I don't even know what we're talking
I
about.
don't know.
It
I
was
don't either.
Funny.
Anyway, he's wanting 200 million over 10 years.
200 over 10.
He's 26.
26 years old.
Do you do that?
At St. Louis, you don't.
No.
I mean, some team's going to do it.
Jim says no.
Maybe San Francisco.
No.
San Fran, Dodgers, Yankees,
San Francisco.
I don't think anybody's
somebody.
worth
Boston.
Well, Samardzija wants what, 125? Are you going to give him that?
How
Only
many
if
years?
he plays wide receiver too.
I wouldn't give him that over 20 years.
No.
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 I'm not confident.
Although it sounds like the Cubs are getting ready to sign him.
Yeah, they may.
Not for that, though.
The Cubs want 2 pitchers this offseason. He'd be one, and then if you could lock up either Greinke or Price.
That'd be a nice get either way.
Yeah.
If Samardzich's your second best signing, that's not bad. Why don't you just get all 3, though? If you got all that money, Theo, let's see what you can do.
We need an outfielder, too.
Oh, you can have Greinke play the outfield in the off days.
And you know what?
Probably do better than Schwarber.
If you get all those guys, you don't even need a manager. Remove that salary to go towards the players.
Well,
wouldn't you think?
I mean, somebody else who would you give manager of the year to then? I mean, they got to give it to somebody that's in Chicago. Baseball needs Chicago.
Ventura.
Needs Chicago
Ventura.
to be a
Ventura Highway.
In the sunshine.
What does he even contribute? Are you even with us?
He wants to talk about.
I had a big breakfast.
We did.
You know what I mean?
Wow, that's terrific bass.
Speaking of that, Lincoln High School football, looking for another football coach. Coach Bass put in his resignation this week. So
where's the guy?
Where do we go now? What's the game plan? Do they hire somebody before school's out to get these younger kids implemented?
Well, I'm going to throw my name out there. I know absolutely nothing about football.
Throw it out there.
I will implement a 3. What do you call them? Huddle offense.
Call them?
3 huddles.
Yep. We're going to do a 3 huddle offense. I'll have the quarterback in 1 huddle, the
skilled
players in another huddle, and then the offensive line in the 3rd huddle.
You got to put them in different areas on the field?
Yes, I don't want them knowing to play.
Now, if they in your system, you're in charge.
Well, yeah, I'll be in charge.
Just wondered about that.
Now, do you have anybody helping you? Or are you the man?
Do I need anybody to help me?
No, you don't.
I mean, what would they do?
Just follow you around with a clipboard and headset.
It could be like the olden days where you used to have to follow them around with that cord. When the cords would drag along the sidelines and you had to get them out of the way.
Well, kind of like what we're doing now. Those guys went wireless.
Hey, we're not wireless. Yeah, look at the cords in here.
Can we have matching outfits?
This is an insurance claim waiting to happen.
So do you guys, if you had your choice, would you rather be somebody local that's from Lincoln, or do you think it's important to bring an outsider in?
I think I'm
okay with an outsider.
Somebody that knows football, somebody that's...
Honestly, I'd like to have a head coach that's willing to have strong assistants that maybe are able to do a lot for the coach and take a little bit off him. I don't think you need the greatest head coach to coach. I think you need great coordinators that are going to teach the game and then the coach implementing it during the game. I mean, I don't know.
There's a lot of truth in that.
I mean, that's my opinion. I think you need a head coach that's good at delegating and that's not afraid to have coordinators that know as much or more than you.
Right. Come in with your system, implement that system, but then have your coordinators
take it over.
So you can look at each aspect of the game. Your offense, your defense, special teams. I think that got overlooked a little bit this year.
Absolutely.
You see that with the Bears. I mean, Adam Gase and Vic Fangio are better coaches than John Fox.
Absolutely.
Period. Not that John Fox is a bad coach, but
he implements them and puts them into the game plan perfectly.
And he lets them coach. I mean, you can see that Gase is
and there's
going to be gone.
Well, let's face it. The Bears are being overcoached right now. They do not have the talent these other teams have.
No.
They are being
Jay Cutler.
They do.
And Jay
Cutler's looking. How many Bear fans before the season would be on a Jay Cutler bandwagon? I guarantee it'd be less than 10%.
I wouldn't be on.
It'd be under 10%. And right now, I'd say it's over 60% is on his bandwagon right now.
And he's been most of the year with either an absent or a banged up Jeffrey. Their number 1 pick, Kevin White, hasn't played. Eddie Royals only played 2 games. It's pretty much been Martellus Bennett, and then all of a sudden Zach Miller showed up out of nowhere.
And 4th and 5th string wide receivers that, those guys are on the team. They may not be on the team, but
they are professional athletes.
But you got to also take in consideration what Cutler's been through his whole career. When he started with Denver, then gets traded to the Bears and goes through how many different coaches, offensive coordinators. He hasn't had that system where, and look what Tressman's doing at Baltimore right now. It's a
Train wreck.
Disaster.
Trestman's horrible.
They can't score points. Flacco looks like he's never played football before.
And Cutler's back with those Denver coaches again now.
And now he's starting to click. So
it's hard on a guy not to have the same.
It is hard on a guy.
It is. Absolutely.
Wow,
I mean, you can have a bunch of good kids out there, but the whole thing, and that's not what league and football needs, is stability. Stability. Like the basketball program has that stability. They know what they're going to do.
The kids come into the school and they know that's our football coach. He's been here a while. Obviously, it's going to take a while to get that because starting over again. Do I know the answer? Absolutely not. No. Does anybody? No.
Well, coming into this with Coach Bass, I mean he talked the way a head coach should talk. I mean, he did. I think I think he needs some help game planning this year and implementing his strategies maybe a little differently. So
right, and that's why it's probably in the best interest to go out and get a football coach now, because there's a lot of coaches out there right now. The season's winding down, only a handful of teams left.
I think you'll see maybe more of it start up in, as February and March get here, because that's when all the football coaches head to clinics. And at those clinics, they put up boards and everybody talks about, looking for assistant coach, looking for head coach, looking for all this stuff. And that's when I think that's when you'll see some people that are putting their resumes in or whatever. I don't even know what they're doing now, like if they're taking them or whatever they're doing. But when they'll have to have that stuff out there when everybody goes to clinics, so that, you just have coaches wandering around. Interesting to see who's going to come over.
Here's a question you might know, and I'm just talking out loud. Like I said, you guys all know I know nothing about football.
Yes,
nothing.
We do
know furniture.
I know. I think there's more than 10 yards on a field. I know that.
You're right.
No,
there's 9 guys out there at once. 8 or 9 guys.
8 or 9, somewhere between 12 and 20.
Yeah.
But seriously, now with Central State being the way it is, we've got some really good coaches and coordinators in the Central State 8.
Absolutely.
Do you ever see like a coordinator from Sacred Heart or Rochester or whatever go to another school in the conference?
Well, you also got to consider when they're hiring these head coaches, they'd also like them to be in the school as a teacher, as well. Okay. Some of these assistant coaches
wouldn't be teachers.
They have other jobs.
I see what you're saying.
And they're assisting this coach. They might work in Springfield. He might work. Then after work he's going and coaching. And so to hire somebody like that, it's difficult to do because.
And you would want a coach that's also a teacher, just so they're in the school.
They're in house.
Seeing what the kids
I'm 100%
are doing.
behind that. Yeah, your head coach has got to be at the high school.
But wouldn't an ideal candidate be Coach Allison from Sacred Heart Griffin?
Well, yeah.
Right?
I'm not sure Coach Allison's going to come over here.
But he's from Lincoln.
Yeah. Obviously, I've talked to him about it before.
Been with SHG's a pretty good program.
He wouldn't be able to be in the school, so he wouldn't be able to see what the kids are doing, how they're acting around the school.
Well, he's a teacher.
Lawrence Thomas isn't a teacher. He coaches Southeast basketball.
Blake
Turner isn't a teacher, obviously.
But basketball is so much different than football, to tell you the truth, because you have so many kids.
Right, but it's not the end of the world if it's not a teacher.
It's not, but I think it's just another position that they don't have to worry about.
Right.
If you have a teacher and a coach.
Well, you need that guy that's in charge that's walking the hallways that, when Tommy's in trouble in English class, somebody's told him and he's taking care of. Someone from the outside that isn't at school all day is just showing up, and he's really not that authority at the school of, hey, you better get your grades up.
He's not going to have the teachers.
Hey, heard you got in trouble in PE today. You need that. I'm a believer that the head football coach should be at the high school. And
I'm a believer that let's get a coach in here that's going to win some games. I don't care if you're in the school or out of the school.
I'm with you.
But
I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good idea.
If you can come in from,
let's win some
BFE and win a game, more power to you. You're on. But that's a tough decision, and
So if Derek Leonard wanted to come to Lincoln and say you can stay where you're at, we're going to say no, Derek. I mean, you can't be in the school
they
all
did
day,
just
so we can have you.
Both of the Leonards just lost last week. So do you really want that brought over?
Losing mentality.
Yeah, they didn't get 6 in a row.
We don't want to bring that into the program.
I saw Derek after he won his first one over there at somewhere in Springfield doing something, and I said, hey, you know what? Hats off to you. Nice job. But I mean, you know what? Anybody can win one. Let's see you get 2. I got 5
later. Give him a call now. Say, couldn't do 6, huh?
Yeah, now when you see him go, boy, you're on quite the losing streak, Coach.
That's funny stuff.
Hard on kid to lose.
I said the same thing to Coach Whiteman. He put that right in my face, too.
Yeah.
Went out and won another one at Lincoln College. Well, you know, the problem with Lincoln High School, as far as that goes, is their history of getting, you know, of not winning in the conference. You know, a lot of coaches that have had success aren't going to jump over here to try to rebuild this program. That's why, you know, you're going to get a coach that's just starting out, or a first-year coach, or someone that's you know,
right.
He's wanting to get his start.
Okay, well, you want to bring that up, then what about jumping into the next conference?
Well, that's what we talked about, where we do a lot of our intelligent talking off air. We talked about that earlier, Joel, about two conferences that may have, you know, passed and want us to jump over, and that's the Corn Belt and the Apollo. Does that help your football program? Absolutely. Does it help your basketball program? Probably not so much, because Central State 8, it's been a dominant basketball Central Illinois for years, you know, with your Springfield schools. And
Lincoln has been right there at the top.
Right. So, you know.
Well, the Corn Belt, I mean, just competitive-wise, is a much better fit than the Apollo. Just because in basketball you're going to have U-High, who's always got a good program. In football, you got Bloomington Central Catholic. And Bloomington Central Catholic in basketball, they won state 2 years ago with the Reinhardt kid that played AAU ball with Gavin. And so there's a couple in Pontiac, although it sounds like they, you know, might be leaving too. But I think athletic-wise, it's much better to go to the Corn Belt. And the travel in the Apollo, as we talked about before we went on the air, would just be a nightmare. And I mean, Mount Zion's usually decent in both sports, but I think basketball-wise and football-wise, I mean, if you're a football team in the CSA, you're starting off the year for Lincoln or whoever, you got 5-time recent champion Rochester, and then, you know, how many state titles in the last decade is the SHG won? And then you got to deal with Jacksonville, and you got to deal with Chatham, and, you know, but look at Taylorville. Taylorville left and went to the Apollo. They've had, what, 2 regular seasons undefeated in a row?
Yeah.
So they got what they wanted for their football program, and that's the sport that matters in their town is football. I mean, they didn't win a state title, but I'm sure they're not complaining about 2 undefeated regular seasons.
They played up till last weekend. You know, they had a better record than Rochester.
Somebody said the other day this is the first time in 10 years we haven't had a Central State 8 team play for a state championship. On Thanksgiving.
I can see that, because before Rochester it was SHG and Chatham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the downside. So let me ask this question, because I'm more of a
insurance man.
Well, I don't really know anything, but on the basketball side of it, how many I know that you're saying that the teams that you're playing aren't as good as the Central State 8, but you get a lot of non-conference games, don't you, in tournaments?
Not so much anymore with the Central State 8 because of all the teams. I think we have maybe 2 or 3 non-conference this year.
I mean, if you went to a different
well, how many teams are in the Corn Belt?
7.
I'm not sure, you know, as it's constructed now, and I don't know
what. I think it's
after Pontiac leaves or whatever.
Year to year.
That's I mean, obviously they're going to have a numbers problem, or they wouldn't be wanting us to come over.
Right.
But I don't know where they're at now. It might be 7, and they're looking for an 8th, but.
You know, that's the same with Central State 8 adding, you know.
Well, and who's to say if Lincoln jumps on that bandwagon that some other team's not coming too? Because there's teams that want to play with Lincoln and play against Lincoln.
Well, and that's one of the rumors about the Apollo is they would try to grab both Decatur schools and bring them with them. And then, as I think Joe talked about before we went on there, maybe there'd be enough teams to have 2 divisions. But, you know, I don't know about you guys. I don't want to go to Mattoon and Charleston and Salem during the week to watch us beat teams by 30, 40 points in basketball.
And you know what? There's not it's not people need to realize too, it's not an overnight fix for Lincoln football. You know, you don't switch conferences and all of a sudden we're 7-2.
But you switch conferences. I think it may open the coaching pool a little more. Make that a little more, broaden that a little bit.
And I think that in those conferences you absolutely, in football wise, you'll be more competitive.
Well, and
eventually it's going to take you 2 or 3 years.
And potentially make a couple playoff games in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that just turns things around. Then, you know, if you're sneaking in the playoffs every now and then, you build some excitement.
Well, even
you get a couple of these kids that get a taste of that, and all of a sudden their younger siblings want some of that, and their cousins and their I mean, you know, you just.
That's amazing how if you follow like SHG and those guys, you know, which I follow all the football, how many little brothers they have or cousins that the same names keep rolling through, you know, as they go on through.
Yeah, there's been a Brenneisen at SHG for like 20 years.
Yeah, it's forever.
Yeah. What do you guys
just automatic
think about, though? I mean, part of the rumors out there is that some of these conferences, or maybe Lincoln may only want to take football. Do you guys have any thoughts about just taking football to a different conference? Because I don't think the CSA would go for that.
I don't think they would allow it.
I believe that's a rule that you can't do it. You're either all in or you're all out.
I'd be a great idea. It'd be a great idea.
As
far as getting it passed, probably not so much. But we got to take a commercial break, fellas. We got some.
We got to pay some bills.
We got to pay the bills. We got some sponsors we need to recognize, because without them, this high quality show would not be available. So stay tuned. You're in the Cheap Seats on 96.3.
Whoa! Hey, you sounded just like him. That was incredible.
Welcome back to the Cheap Seats. AC/DC going on.
Who sings that song?
Just told you if you'd listen.
No, wait a minute.
Scott Kirby.
Bon Scott or Brian Johnson?
Not singing much anymore.
Bon Scott or Brian Johnson? Who was that?
I don't know.
Well, if that's what it takes.
I don't know. Anyway, we want to send out a good look.
I've got trivia.
Trivia?
Yeah, I got trivia.
Well, we're going to throw out that trivia to win some bowling here in a minute.
Don't throw that paper.
But first of all, we'd like to throw out a good luck and congratulations to Rachel Stein. She is in the Illinois State Swimming and Diving Championships. Started yesterday, so, I don't know how she did, but hopefully she did well. Anybody knows, give us a call, 737-3791. Also, congratulations to all the football players that made special mention for the all-conference. One name on there that I thought should have been on there and it wasn't. Garrett Isles, the leader of your football team, the quarterback, every practice, doesn't complain, goes out and does his job. Left off there.
I don't know exactly how they vote on that, but, and I know, it's my favorite stepson.
Yeah.
But, Garrett, he was quarterback 2 years and did a good job. Was there every day.
Did everything he was asked.
Oh, yeah, he don't think he ever missed a practice.
Didn't miss a practice. A kid like that needs some recognition, and I thought he was overlooked all year. So, Garrett, on the Cheap Seats, you're our honorable mention. So
honorable mention, there you go.
And he'll make it up in basketball.
Yeah, and you know what? I always said this about, it's we all know that that you don't have a lot of basketball players on the football team. Certainly with a new coach coming in and everything changing, would have been pretty easy to just step back and go, hey,
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm going to sit this out and I'm going to play basketball. And he didn't. He was there all the time. He did a good job for us. Really did.
Absolutely. Well, let's make that transition over to basketball. Joel, good time of the year. Lincoln Railers. We had the Meet the Railers Thursday night. First game coming up Monday against Centennial. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
Centennial, the Fink boys, they move over to across the town to Central. So Centennial might be down a little bit this year, missing those two kids.
Well, yeah, you're missing the 6'7" kid that just signed to play at West Point. You got Nick Finke. He's going to be a senior, and then Tim Finke, the younger brother. He's a 6'7", 2-3 combo guard that's ranked in the top 25 players in the nation. As a sophomore, top 25 in the country, and #1 player in the state of Illinois. Wow. So when you lose two 6'7" kids that can both jump out of the gym, that's a hard loss and a big gain for Champaign Central.
Right.
Plus, they get Jeff Finke as their coach at Central now, and Jeff played at Illinois, and he's been coaching AAU basketball over in the Peoria Irish program for several years. So Central got quite the coup.
Now, do you think they have many kids that are playing football? Because they're still alive.
Yeah, well, probably. I think
they've had a great run. Hats off to them.
Boy, they can score, can't they? They held Washington to 0 points.
See how
we do that? We just go back and forth. We
shut out Washington, threw 80 up on Jacksonville.
Yeah,
that's pretty. To say some of those athletes have to be playing basketball.
Sure. I think most places, maybe SHG would be the opposite. I think a lot of places kids are playing both ways. I think at SHG, not all the football players play basketball. At Lincoln, not all the basketball players play football, but most places, a lot of your better athletes will play both sports.
Just taking a look at upcoming game, Joel, we had Meet the Railers Thursday. We're not a real big team. What are your expectations this year as far as, I don't know, I don't want to say wins because that's not going to be the big thing. What do you want, Joe? 20? We're going to win 20?
Well, You're right.
That's good.
Size is going to be an issue.
20.
Yeah. We're not the biggest team, but we're not usually the biggest team. This will be a year where defense is really important, and little things like rebounding. I mean, we're going to struggle a lot of nights rebounding, considering who we play just at our conference. I mean, now you got the Decatur schools, the Springfield schools. There's a lot of athletic teams. Jacksonville's got some big kids, and they just got a transfer in, like a 6'7" transfer in from Piasaw, I think. So an already good Jacksonville team that was young.
They were very young last year, right?
Is older, more experienced, and now they add a big kid, and they've got a couple other big kids. But I think for us, first of all, it's always going to start with defense. We're probably not going to win the board battle a lot every night. Just when you play the 1-2-2, the weak side rebounding is always going to be something you got to shore up. But that doesn't mean we just go out there and say, well, we're not going to be able to win the rebounding battle. We give up. I mean, we're going to have to. This will be a year where a lot of the little things mean everything. Mm-hmm. Are you boxing out? Are you where you're supposed to be on defense? Are you making the extra pass? Are you where you're supposed to be in our sets?
Right, and that's the key thing. You say extra pass. Being so small, we got to penetrate, kick it back out, and our guards have to hit those shots. I thought over the summer I was pretty impressed with how they work together, being so small. But it comes down to, Lincoln, are they hitting their threes? Because we're going to be taking a lot of three-pointers because we're not going to get to the lane.
Yeah, you're going to have. This is going to be a year where you're going to have Garrett and KJ Fry and Bryson and some of the guys that are shooters.
Right.
I mean, they're going to have a couple guys, not just one. We're going to need a couple guys to be on just about every night. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. Because, Hoppy and Bowers definitely can take the ball to the hole and definitely can get up and play up near the rim. But those are really about the only two guys that teams like Lamphey are going to be worried about taking them off the dribble, which means they're going to be able to sag, and we're going to have to be able to hit some outside shots. And not just threes, but when they come out and cheat on your threes, if you can take one dribble and hit a mid-range jumper, that'll be an important part of it too. For a lot of our games, it's going to be hard to get points under the basket.
And I was going to say, when you, like for instance in football, if we're playing Chatham, certainly, we don't want to stop the clock any more than we can because, every time they get the ball is a chance to score. So in basketball now, would you even try to slow the game down even more because we don't have that rebounding than we normally do?
Absolutely. I mean, against a high-paced team, that's what you want to do. You want to slow the basketball, give them as less possessions as possible, just because every possession now is going to be crucial. And foul trouble could come into play. Our big guys, Drew's our biggest kid, 6'5"?
Yeah, maybe 6'6".
He's a big kid.
But if he gets some foul trouble, or Isaiah or Hoppy, we're even getting smaller. So you got to play smart, and it's going to be interesting.
I think one kid that is going to contribute that maybe we haven't mentioned yet is David Biggs. We're going to need David to come in.
Absolutely.
And one thing about David is he'll play hard.
He'll play hard, and
every minute he's on the floor.
He seems to be in the right spot at the right time. He does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, and you talk about slowing it down just by the nature of our defense. Whether we're made a basket or coming off a made free throw, and we can set up the three-quarter court, 1-2-2, or the half court, just by the nature of what we run, we're going to slow people down.
Well, we always do. That's what I meant was, do we even want to make it even more slower
offensively,
than before?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, if teams are going to play zone, then we can play pass around as long as we want. Really, we want people to play us man because our man sets are so good. We can carve just about anybody up.
A lot of the back door.
Yeah, you're going to score quicker though against man. Whereas if we catch people that want to just sit back in zone, obviously, we're going to have to hit some shots to.
But we can run time.
We can, yeah. We can run. My uncle used to call it a Kabuti ball. There was a coach in Champaign called Lee Kabuti. And he used to try to hold it for the 8 minutes of every quarter and then put up one shot. So.
Didn't he line them all up on the out of bounds line one time and pass the ball?
I think you might have.
All four guys were next to each other, facing out of bounds, and he passed the ball to each other. And the only way you could get through was to foul.
It's like a picket fence.
That's funny stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to tell Neil that. Maybe he can put that in his offense.
I'm sure he's seen it. I watched it at Lincoln. I'm pretty sure that was at Lincoln.
Could have been.
Yeah, it was funny.
It is funny. But, Lincoln getting ready to kick off their season. Man, it's really flying by.
Well, in our conference this year, I mean, there's a lot of teams where you're not sure, like at Jacksonville. Jacksonville could be really good, or this may be like a struggle year, and next year they're really good. But man, Lanphier, watch out.
Yeah, and Southeast, they're always athletic. Chatham, they're probably down a little bit this year.
Well, they'll still have what Allen, or is it Parker Allen?
Parker Allen, he's a junior.
Ethan Hunt, I think, would be back. But Lanphier's got 5 kids that are going to play college basketball for free.
Yeah.
Really?
5 kids, yeah. You got Andre Williams, the point guard. I mean, he may not be going to Illinois, but some JUCO at least, or Division II, will scoop him up. Xavier Bishop's probably going to get to go someplace, probably lower level D1. Cardell McGee, who's a sophomore, he plays on the St. Louis Eagles at AAU ball. He's one of the better sophomores in the state. Yakima Rose is for sure. And then they've got a freshman, Carl Wright, that just absolutely tore it up on the AAU circuit as an 8th grader last year.
Wow. Up
in Milwaukee at the NY2LA stuff. He was one of the eye-openers, and he's just a freshman already. I mean, literally get his elbow on the rim. So
wow,
there's 5 kids.
Crap, now I'm scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
But as we've seen, Lanphier has talent every year, and
they just
sometimes
figure out a way to lose.
Well, yeah, a lot of
it can be outcoached. Speaking of coaches, should we talk about the Springfield situation? I don't know too much about it, but they are going to be under a new head coach.
Yeah, they just announced it the other day. I can't think of Spencer.
Yeah,
is it somebody from?
It's one of Lanphier's assistants, I believe, took over for Matt Reed, who resigned.
He's got some coaching experience. Came from. I just read it.
I read a quote from Blake Turner, and at first I didn't connect the dots where he was talking about the guy, but then later on I read where he was Lanphier assistant, and then I thought, well, of course Blake's going to speak highly of him if it's one of his staff.
Right.
But
yeah, that's kind of odd. A week before the season starts, Reed resigns, and
I think if you read between the lines, I'm pretty sure he was kind of forced to resign.
Forced?
Yeah.
That happens.
Because you've got coaches other coaches of other sports at Springfield talking about maybe staging like a half-day walkout. Well, you're not going to do that if the coach just left on his own.
Right.
They would just say, well, Matt decided to leave, so something must have happened, and either the board or somebody stepped in and encouraged him to resign.
Does he teach at school?
I believe he does.
I think so. I don't know.
But yeah, that's not an ideal. You don't want your coach to leave a week before the season starts.
No, that's usually not a good thing here.
No, to me, surprising that an assistant coach from the staff that's been working with him didn't become the head coach.
Well, another thing I heard was that just to give credit, I heard it on the Springfield radio station. Was some of the players, I guess, had told Matt Reed that they were just not coming to practice anymore because they didn't like what he was doing. So one of the things is, rather than back Matt Reed, the administration decided to take the player side and said take it or leave it. Well, I mean, as a coach, Matt Reed's been there a long time.
I was going to say,
you can't let if the players say they want to go home, I'd say, well, we'll see you later.
There'll
then
be
you're
other
not going to be suiting up, right?
Yeah.
We'll play with who shows up.
Who's in charge?
Apparently.
Well, it's probably been something kind of ongoing over the years because last year I kind of thought they had Obadiah Church, just a beast, and I didn't think they utilized him enough.
Horribly misused.
They're throwing him out on the perimeter where he should have been down on the block just dominating. Because when he did, that's exactly what he did, dominate. But he wants to play perimeter. Now
I was told that's what he was going to play in college, and that the coach was absolutely just letting him do that because that's what he was going to do at college.
Well, and as a coach, you're kind of in a catch-22 there. Do you do what's best for your team now, or do you do what's best for the kid? But
I know what our coaches do. They do what's best for the team. And if he was in the red, white, and green, he's not shooting threes and playing. He wants to hit that 15-footer. Fine, but
there's plenty of room in our offenses for a big guy to. Our big guys step out. Our 4 guy is usually one of our better shooters, which you don't find in most programs. But just actually the way we run our stuff, most year Matt Schick was a 4. Pretty good shooter.
Yep.
You want a shooter just because of the stuff we run, but obviously people don't run the same things we do. But I've seen plenty of highlights of Obadiah Churchies at. It's not at Southern Miss, but he's at Missouri Valley State, I believe, and there's already been a lot of highlights, and all the highlights I've seen so far are him dunking, not shooting threes. So to your point,
just think what he would have done. He could have just.
Oh, if you put him on our team last year, it would have been a wrap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Him and Gavin. You'll take it.
I got you, easy.
Put him up. We would have been putting him up.
Get them up.
Yeah. Hey, let's take our last break. We'll come back. We'll finish talking some Lincoln Railers. We'll maybe get into some Illini basketball.
NFL's going on, too.
NFL, yeah, it is. It is going on. So stay tuned. You're in Cheap Seats.
Phone's ringing off.
We had them up.
We had them up.
We did.
Had them up.
Where's that going to take you back to?
Where's it going to take you?
Paradise City.
That's where everybody wants to live.
Yeah,
Paradise
the grass
City.
is green and the
furniture sales are plenty.
pretty.
Don't forget, 90% off.
90% off of one item, but it was marked up 490%. So,
which isn't unusual.
Still a value.
Still getting a good deal. Welcome back to the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM.
Let's
Scott Kirby, Joel Vinson, Jake,
raising some L,
and Joe Ryan with you this morning. Next week, apparently we're off next Saturday.
What?
That's open for discussion.
Basketball.
Yeah.
We still may
and the
have.
phone lines are lighting up now.
That's a load.
What?
A crock of hell.
So that's still up in the air. But we will definitely be on December 5th, and we'll be at the Lincoln IGA for their annual Lincoln Logan Food Pantry Drive. Ooh. You won't want to miss this. And why don't you want to miss this?
You tell me.
Because there's something over there that you donated.
We have donated again this year, trying to help out the food pantry here in Lincoln, Logan County. Very, very important to keep them stocked.
Absolutely.
Keep them shelf stocked. So we have donated a leather powered double reclining love seat with console.
Is it plugged in?
It is.
That's nice.
The head Joe was back here.
We should put some pictures of us on there.
He was laid back with his mind on his money. His money on his mind.
It's nice. I'm going to get in there and try to win that.
It's 2 weeks in a row I did sit.
How do you win? Do you buy a raffle ticket, or what do you do?
Show up at IGA and find out.
Yeah. Go to IGA.
We got to let our listeners know.
I think your mother-in-law won a couple years ago.
This is the IGA thing where you go in and you just
buy some food.
Buy a bag of food and you get an entry.
Bag of dog food.
No, you buy a bag. They have them pre-packaged for you. I mean, it's a great deal.
You can put that stuff on bread. It's not bad.
It's not. Well, I'll tell you what.
Like bass.
Kind of cat food,
Terrific bass.
Nice point.
Jeez, I thought I had to point.
All right, fellas. Hey, let's talk some Illinois basketball, Joel. I really haven't been following them this year. I know they're injured right now, and Gross is, I guess, on the hot seat. What's their season looking like, and what's the future hold for Illinois basketball?
Well, they're really banged up. I mean, you got Jalen Tate's out with a broken hand. Laron Black is just not coming back. He had a torn meniscus. Kendrick Nunn, he had some torn ligaments in his hand, I believe. The good thing for Gross and Illinois is it's allowed some of the younger players to play. As we talked about the Finkies earlier, the oldest one, Michael, put on quite a show the other night at Providence. Went on a 12-0 run just by himself and had a chance to put back a dunk and win the game against a decent Providence team with the top 5 NBA lottery pick on their roster. So he's pretty good. Obviously, the Jalen Coleman-Lands kid, he was a top 30 national recruit. He's turned out to be everything they thought he could be and more. He's getting a lot of minutes. You got the Thorne kid, the transfer, who's only going to be there for 1 year. Jake and I were talking earlier. I mean, he's been good, but when he's not been good, he's kind of been really bad.
Well, and even the game I went to a couple Fridays ago, he the second half he looked good, but he looked sluggish.
Yeah.
I mean, running up and down the floor between offense and defense, either direction, he just looks sluggish.
Right, and they're not. They want to play an up-tempo game, and it's kind of hard when you've got to plug in all these injuries. I mean, Laron Black it's going to take him a while to get back, but that's a top, probably top 20 talent-wise player in the Big Ten at least. He's just got to learn how to play basketball and not go in there and want to fist fight everybody and stay on the floor because he loves to foul people.
Yeah,
he really does.
He's a hockey player.
Yeah. So they've got. There's some talent, and they got DJ Williams out of Simeon, who's hasn't really done a whole lot, but he's a 6'7" kid that could even step in and play point guard. But right now, I mean, their point guard's Malcolm Hill.
Yeah.
Well, that's a 6'7", 2-3 combo guy that's probably going to play in the NBA, and he's taking one for the team and playing point. But you're not going to go beat even decent teams when that's your point guard. And it's nothing against Hill. It's just you don't want him there. Your offense is better when he's out there because he can do everything. He can drive. He can shoot the three. He's got a mid-range game. He can rebound. That you don't want him at the point guard, but they really don't have any choice because and some of the transfers they've got in are playing point guard or hit and miss, but kind of like Thorne, when they've been bad, they've really hurt the team. And I don't know. I mean, Gross.
And they're relying on him too. I mean, they need him to have at least a performance where he gets a couple of the other team's bigs and get a couple fouls on their other team's bigs. And I don't know.
Recruiting wise, he's got a. I mean, obviously the Finke kid was a good signing, and Jalen Coleman-Lands was a good pick, but the constant striking out on the top 10 players in the country that come out of Chicago, that's got to stop.
Well, and on top of that, with the new AD coming in and everything, and the stadium being done, I don't know if he makes it after this year.
Well, it's just the whole Illinois
we've got
sports and
bad stuff going on there.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
The football team played a lot better than what I thought it would.
They've responded.
They have to change.
What's his name?
Well, they've got a real coach. Right. It's kind of like the Bears had Tressman. They had that clown Beckman. Now they've got a real coach in Cubitt, who, and just like John Fox is, Cubitt's got great assistants that help him, and he knows how to coach. He's been doing it for 30 years.
I like that theme.
So you think down the road, you think he's going to get the
Cubitt?
Yeah, you think?
I don't know because
who are you going to go get?
Well, who wants to come here? Right. Other than the ideal thing, if you could find an Illinois guy, someone that used to play there, that's got some coaching experience that would want it to be his destination. Like years ago, I always thought Tim Brewster would be perfect, but he went to Minnesota and fell on his face, and he kind of became almost a Beckman type guy where he was a joke by the end. But can you find in Illinois a former player like a John Holisek or somebody that would want to come back, and that's their job, that's all they want? Or, I mean, he's not a coach, but a Jeff George, somebody that loves Illinois that would stay there, but there isn't that guy. Yeah. So you're going to be constantly looking for the best guy in the MAC. Now, the one guy that I think would be interesting is Dino Babers, the guy that was at Eastern, that I think now is at Toledo maybe is the head coach. He was the coach at Eastern when they had Garoppolo, and I don't know if they won nationals in their division or they got second, but that's a guy that clearly could prove he knows Illinois. He could recruit Illinois. That might be a destination job for somebody like that, but I don't want UNLV's coach or some guy that's just going to use it as a stepping stone.
Right. Somebody's going to be here.
But if you give Cubitt, what are you going to do? Maybe you say, all right, we'll give him 2 years. Well, what's he supposed to go tell recruits?
Right.
I may not even be here after your freshman year because most of you are going to redshirt anyway in football.
So get Coach Spack go over there from ISU. There you go.
Maybe.
He's an Illinois boy now. He's been here long enough. He loves Illinois. Well, move on up the ladder.
That's what the football team needs.
Or the guy from NIU. He's been there for a while.
I can't think of his name. Is it Dan?
Yeah.
See, I always thought Jerry Kill would have been a good hire for Illinois, but his health problems, he had to retire from Minnesota. Because of his seizures.
Well, that's why we do a sports show, fellas. We don't have to make them crucial decisions because more times than not, they're not very good. So
all we know is what time breakfast is.
Oh, they got a lot of hires to make over there.
Yeah, they do, and it's just that top whole program. Chancellor and
AD.
Did they get who's the women's basketball coach now? Did they just came last year?
The top assistant was up to no good, and
wasn't good.
No, it was
up to no good.
Yeah, he was really not a good guy at all for a lot of different reasons. So they ran him off, and the chancellor's gone. The AD's been fired. So you can't make one. I would say first of all you need to get your administration in order, and then you need to get an AD, and then that AD needs to find a coach, and then the AD probably needs to figure out if he wants to keep John Gross. So
that's why I just don't see all that with the record from the past, and then even though I think Gross has been a decent coach, just like he said, swing and miss on these top recruits.
He's had a lot of bad luck, with Abrams out
and clean house up there. Clean house over there.
The one thing I've thought could be a make or break thing for John Gross is, and this may sound silly, but if Tim Finke, a top 25 national player, the number one player in the state of Illinois, whose dad played at Illinois, whose brother's on the team, if Tim Finke ends up at North Carolina or Duke or Ohio State, that's a problem, and Gross is probably going to be gone. Because you cannot tell me he can lose a kid like that and keep his job.
It's just playground.
He's at all their games.
It's the same way. That's what happened to Weber. He couldn't recruit his brother, Shire. He goes to Duke.
His brother coached him in high school.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have any influence there, that's just our, recruit. It comes down to recruiting. You got to get those top kids, those 5-star athletes, and Illinois is just not and
he's a good kid.
He is a good kid.
He's a good kid, and that's
hard on the program.
Hard on the program for that.
That's terrific pass.
That's exactly right.
Oh boy, Jim, you got a quick finger there, buddy.
I don't know. Illinois got some. They definitely have a lot of things to overcome in all the programs in the school to get that ship going straight. Well, you might have a couple more years there if things going wrong.
It's hard for people. I mean, they're constantly mailing you stuff and calling you, wanting you to donate. Donate to what? What am you using my money for? You're hiring lunatics and people that don't know what they're doing. So why am I going to give you more money?
Yeah. It's tough.
It is tough.
And they've just renovated, the State Farm Center, and it's going to look nice. But I want to go sit in a comfortable seat, but I want a good product to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, though, back to the other one, how do you sell Illinois as far as, like, if you're that kid that's from Illinois that's got a shot at going to North Carolina or a Duke or one of those programs, I think they look at Illinois, and let's say they're within 60 miles of it or 100 miles of it, and they look at that, and they look at our weather. And
think you're in the backyard.
And then you look over there, and you're like, man, I got to take a shot at going to Duke or North Carolina. I mean, look at Joe Cook back in the day.
If you can, I'd say to a kid, and we can get a couple of your friends to come here and you win the first ever national basketball title in the history of Illinois, we'll build statues for you around here. At Carolina and Duke, they get national runs every year. Look, people still revere the D. Brown, Darren Williams team.
Oh, yeah. If you could, flying line.
Yeah, if you could get a Tim Finke and some of the other top prospects and win a national title, I mean, you're not. They can't give you that at Kansas and those places because you're just another player there.
Because if you don't do it there, you're a failure.
Right.
Here, even if you go deep into the tournament, you're
going to be Coach of the Year.
Yeah. You will.
Sure.
You can be a star here, superstar.
Absolutely.
And Champaign doesn't take a lot to be a superstar.
Nope. D. Brown still.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's somebody that should be on the sidelines, and that should be their lead recruiter in
he's
Chicago.
In their office,
Well, yeah, he's in there as like a AD assistant or something, but you send him up to Chicago to Simeon and Whitney Young. Whitney Young's a place they never get a recruit. Kids are going to be like, whoa, that was D. Brown.
Yeah.
They'll listen then.
Absolutely. Well, fellas, our show's about over. Real quick, we got the Lincoln-Eaton round-robin tournament coming up starting Monday.
Get them up.
Lincoln will be hosting Champaign Centennial at 8 o'clock Monday night. Wednesday, they will play at 7:30 against Mahomet Seymour. Friday, November 27th, the day after Thanksgiving, Morton is in town at 8 o'clock. Saturday morning at 11:30, we take on Danville. And then Saturday night, 8 o'clock against Cahokia. So another solid tournament. Lincoln's going to get tested right from the get-go, kind of see what these kids have and, kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. So hopefully.
We raising Al this year?
No, we are not raising Al.
I'm pretty sure I saw a shirt.
I think we saw a shirt
Bonanza the other day that said raise Al.
We don't have shirts because somebody hasn't had them made yet.
We're going to have them, and they're going to be tank tops, my friend.
Tank tops.
Logo will be sweet.
Yes, exactly.
Sweetness.
All right, Joel, thanks for coming in today. We look forward to having you again in the future.
Playing our music.
Huh?
Now they're playing our music.
Yeah. They're playing our fans' music now.
Jim's hanging his Christmas lights today. Guaranteed.
On the pear trees.
He's picking pears. Pear picker.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't think we're going to have a show next week. If it's up to Jake, we will. If it's up to me, we will. It doesn't matter. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Hampton Inn for the coffee and the pastries.
And thanks to you, our listeners.
Yes, and thanks to you, our listener. Or is it plural?
I think both my parents are listening.
Okay. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, thanks for tuning in. Your son is one heck of a guy. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in to Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM.
Good day.